Hello, 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 and welcome to my, I guess, postseason prediction review uh, video where I will be going over my predictions, what I had for the 23-24 season, and then also a look at kind of where we actually ended up. And as you can see there, it kind of goes through the last, basically every season under Arteta. Of course, we all know the infamous eighth, fifth, second kind of flow that we've been on. He started out with a trophy, very nice. And for me, anytime that you have a trophy in your season, you don't necessarily have to hit on every prediction. I think these are the bare minimums for me, going from based on what I've seen us do it from one season to the next. You want some gradual improvement. I think we've done that, one in the Premier League, and as we look at some of the other areas where we have an opportunity to win a trophy, we've done that as well. We've been gradually moving in that direction. If you notice, we started out in like the round 32, and that first full season for Arteta got to the quarters in the Europa League, and of course, they've all been ugly exits, but we've improved each time. Now, and I guess we've improved, and then we kind of dipped, but the most improvement we've done has been in the Premier League. We've been gradually improving there, but everywhere else it's kind of been not been consistent. So as we see for the 23-24, the predictions that I have there, for me, I'm looking at it as a whole. We need to compete on all four fronts if we're going to compete and actually win trophies on a consistent basis. If we're not competing on all four fronts, then that's where the challenge is. And if you notice, whenever we've won a trophy with Arteta, we haven't done so good in other areas of the cups that we play in or even the Premier League. But now that we seem to be doing really good in the Premier League, we need to be able to bring along some of those the lower cups, the lower trophies, as some would say, and try to get a little bit better there. So going into this season, as you can see there, I had us finishing in the top three. I figured with Liverpool coming back, they were going to be, they would take some of that, the way they finished off the season, and bring some of that into the new season, and they did. They did. Uh, Not for the full season, but they did. They had their chances. FA Cup, I know we've won one as an Arteta with Arteta and the EFL. I figured, that's where we might be able to get some of our trophies or deep runs. Finishing in the semis would be the bare minimum for me, and I think that's just where we stood, and we're finishing second in the previous season. I think finishing in the semis and in the domestic cups wasn't a stretch. Wasn't a stretch at all. Making it out of the Champion League group, which is basically round of 16, for me, that's where I figured we'd be able to do if we were going to compete on all four fronts. And that's part of the problem, and that's the depth issue that we have, is that can we compete on all four fronts? Not at this time. Are we deep enough to compete in one tournament? And as of right now, the answer to that also is not at this time. So with that in mind, I'm just going to move my screen around so I can hopefully see things and you can kind of see me looking right at you. Trying a new tool to create my videos, so hopefully that works. But as you can see, and we'll get into it now, kind of where we actually did finish off. So, yellow is we excelled. Green would mean we won, essentially. Green would mean it was a success. For me, I guess, the second should be green, because that means you've achieved and overcome. You've done better. You've overachieved on the prediction that I had. So it probably should be green, but I kind of felt like that one's another one of those ones we let slip by. So second for me, yes, we overachieved where I thought we would be, based on the fact that I thought we would compete on all four fronts. Round of 32 in FA Cup, not so good. I think we're a much better team than that. We should be able to compete and actually get deep into the FA Cup, make it into the quarters of the Champions League. And I think that I did mess that up. So that first one's FA Cup, yes, round of 32. Not good. Not good at all. Not good at all. I think that was our first game, if I recall. Not good. Played Liverpool. Liverpool at one point figure, we're going to go to our bench. And at that point, you would think, okay, maybe Arteta's team, Arsenal, would kick on and go, you know what? If they don't want it, let's go get it. We didn't do that, and we suffered for it. It was a bad time of the season for that to all to happen because we lost two other games as well around that time, and they kind of set us back a little bit. But yeah, the FA Cup, since that first trophy, we've not done so well. Winning 1 and 2 games just isn't good at all. Now I'm gonna jump just to the EFL, so we'll kind of go in the order of things there. But yeah, Carabao Cup once again, round of 16 is kind of where we ended up, not in the semis. We won the first game, lost the second one. First one, I think it was Everton, I believe it was, and next game was against West Ham, and they were resting their players. We were resting our players to some degree, but I think we should be able to compete with them and actually get a win. Another one of those types of games that we've had all season. Our chances, we weren't clinical with the chances that we had. They eventually were, and they were able to run away with it. Once again, a poor performance in a domestic cup match. And we went out. We did bring on, and we've done this all the time. We do bring on our starters, but usually it's usually a little bit too late. I think Erdogan got a goal late in that last match to preserve a shutout. But you know what? Yeah, we need to be able to compete without having to have all our starters on the pitch, and that game showed us where we're still not there yet. And I guess another positive that we did have is in the Champions League, being the first time in the Champions League in many years. We got an easy group, but you know what? You still need to win. And we went out there. We did get the win in our group. We were able to make it past Porto and come up against a Bayern Munich side that is not at the level that they would like to be at, and that's a chance for us to actually go in and actually get something out of that match. And when you have an opportunity to play at home against a team and none of their fans can be there, you would hope that your fans in the environment would allow you to get something out of that game and get at least a win out of it. We weren't able to do that. Gave away some goals that we shouldn't have, and that's kind of been our thing. Teams don't get too many chances to score, but when they do, they finish them, and they're more clinical when it comes down to it. We were able to get back into the game and at least get a draw. Jesus came in late and was able to help us get that goal. But once again, I think this has kind of been our issue. If you look at a lot of our games, we're not clinical in them, even in the wins. So instead of maybe winning games and running away with it, we're keeping the game close. Or if we need to get a goal just to save a point, we're not able to do that. To get the win, we're not able to do that. And that's been our problem all season. Clinicalness in the final third is a thing. I think just taking shots in general. A lot of times we're taking an extra touch. By the time we do, defense is in there and they're able to close things out. And that's been our issue. And pretty much any of the losses, we don't have that one player that can just make it happen no matter what. The teams, the opponents playing their best defense, and we're not able to power through and still get something out of it. So yeah, this has been our problem. Hopefully we fix it. But as you can see, as far as my predictions, too good, too bad. As far as where I thought we would be, not good. But the fact that there are positives is a good thing. The negatives have always been there. We were able to get that FA Cup the first time, but if you can see, we kind of struggled everywhere else. So I kind of feel like we need to be able to compete in all four fronts so we can be a more consistent team. So when we do play in those domestic cups, we're not dropping that much in form. That's kind of been our thing. So it's kind of a wash based on that. I think when you're able to improve your positioning in the Premier League and the Champions League year over year, It's got to be a positive there. Not getting 1 and 2 games in the domestic cups, not so good. But we're gonna, even if we win those, Arsenal's looked at as a team that just because you won an FA Cup doesn't mean much. Just because you won a Carabao Cup doesn't mean much. You need to win the big trophy. So if we're going to succeed and improve on our positions in particular cup runs, trophy runs, if that's going to be the Premier League and the Champions League, then we'll take that any day. Right, I think we'll take that any day. So that's the positive there. The negative is that our consistency and our depth has been a problem in our ability not to be able to score goals in tight games or just in general. We need to have somebody who's got kind of the, as they say, like I said, what is it? The ability to just go in there under any kind of pressure and get the win, get the goal, make the block, all of that. We have some of that. On the defensively, I think we're fine. Offensively, we still need that killer, that one player to come out there, and no matter what the other team thinks they're going to do, we do it much better, right? So I think that's kind of been our thing, and that's where we're going to have to go with this thing. So yes, this has kind of been my review. I don't know what you think about it, but that's, yeah, not a good finish. But there are positive and negatives. I believe it's more of a wash, and it's actually more positive in the sense that we, in the big runs that we have, the most challenging ones, the most difficult ones, we are improving year upon year, right? And so if we're going to look at it that way, you can look at it that way as a positive. You can look at the negative that we can't compete in the others. But eventually, I like to think those will catch up. The more that we improve with the recruitment, the more that those other games, when we're playing better players than we have been in the past, like we'll be playing hopefully players that potentially start for us, and they'll be playing in those cup matches just because of the way that the rotation happens. When we're doing that, then we're able to win those games. When we're able to be more clinical in games, we're pushing players out and giving them a rest, and maybe they'll be able to play and compete in some of these matches as well. They won't be stretching you, and you won't feel like, guess what, this is a must win, but I can't play them because they've run themselves ragged, they're tired and mentally drained, and all that thing that goes into it. So I kind of feel like that's where we stand, and that's hopefully what we're going to resolve this summer. So this is my review of the predictions, and we'll talk in another video about where we go from here. But there it is. Yes, there's pros and cons. More pros, I believe, because of the bigger trophies, we are competing and doing better. Yeah, we went from second to second, but that was an improvement because this time, instead of being out of it, it seemed, with like 4 or 5 games to go, it seemed this time it went to the last game. It required City to actually win a match. They had to win that last match. We had a 6 or 7 game stretch where we were hoping they drop points, and they never did. They didn't drop points. They didn't lose for many months. They didn't drop points in the Premier League when we finally had a chance to get there, and at some point we were ahead of them, but they had a game in hand, right? And they were able to win out. So that's where we need to be, and that's what every team needs to be able to strive for. They need to be perfect, essentially, and perfect doesn't mean you're going to win every match, but it definitely means at some point you're going to have to win a stretch of games in a row to set yourself aside from the others. But that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. I'll do another one next season, and we'll see where we go. But thank you very much, and talk to you later.